Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. Hopefully you can hear me over the trains and stuff. So we were gonna try to do a best way to strip the paint off of a car video, but that's taken way too long, so I'm just gonna tell you how I've been doing it, and then we're gonna take a look at how bad this burnt AMX really is. So I stripped all the paint off half the car, roof, everything about half, well, a little further than half probably, and then left all the crappy burnt AMX paint still on this side. Now I'm trying to keep the dust down, and I don't know 100% if this is lead free or not. So, sanding it with a sander could be a little bit sketchy. So I was trying to go with the paint stripper gel, which, believe it or not, 3 or 4 years ago, that's what I did to that AMX, is I actually stripped all the paint off of it, everything, with aircraft paint remover. But it turns out you can't get that stuff, or at least I can't get it anymore at the hardware stores or auto parts stores. So I found the strongest stuff that I could get, strypezee, and that's kind of how I got this car to where it's at. I put a thin layer on last night on this side of the car, but the biggest problem with any paint stripper is it takes time. And this has been on here for 8 hours, I believe now, 9 hours. And I mean, it's working, but the biggest problem with all of these paint strippers is they won't remove the factory paint and primer. Doesn't matter how much you put on there, if you scratch into the paint to try to get it to go under it, it just won't remove it. I guess it's just too tough of a paint. But this red crappy stuff and all the crappy primer they had under that, it'll strip it right off, no problem. So basically how I've been working this car to try to keep the dust down is I'll do a layer of this, I'll come back with a scraper, I'll scrape all the loose crap off that'll come off, and then I'll hit it again with another layer of paint stripper, let it sit for 24 hours or whatever, do the same thing. So what that'll leave is all the Bondo, any of the green paint, and any of the original primer will be kind of still left. This car was taken down to the metal in some places, but not a whole lot of places. The only places it's been taken down, you can kind of see the difference, and that's kind of where it didn't have any of the original paint on it. But anyway, so after I did that and I got it down to where it's just like some primer left or green paint, then I took one of these polycarbonate abrasion wheel for your grinder. And I was a little concerned that might actually scratch up the metal really bad, but it actually didn't. It's really smooth and didn't leave any grooves or anything that I could feel. Some of this stuff was already in here, but that's what I did to knock off the rest of this paint. So I would say after paint stripping it, 60% of this side of this car still had primer and green paint on it. It took me about an hour with that to strip all the paint, the rest of the crap off, and that's including the inch of Bondo they had thrown on the back of this car. One thing you do got to be careful about is all this is lead, and I think there's some up front too, so you don't want to grind and get lead dust flying around. But you can kind of see these swirls, but they're just smooth. So Now that kicked up some dust, but not too much. And I think the reason it didn't kick up too much dust is because what that paint stripper does do is it kind of gets into the paint, but it won't bubble it. It makes it soft, and then that wheel will just burn it off or grind it off. And it does it real fast too. I mean, you don't have to try. So looking at the crap that was underneath all the crap is this crap. And when I started peeling this stuff away, they had literally filled this with Bondo, all this rust, and it was actually squeezed out. I pulled a big chunk out here. It was just Bondo. And then they actually threw fiberglass over that, and then they Bondoed over that again. So there's about an inch, I kid you not, of Bondo slathered on this back quarter panel here, lower quarter panel. And you can kind of see remnants here of what they did. So these guys really loved fiberglass. I don't know. Maybe that's just something they did back in the day, or that's just something they do when they don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I've never run across it, but again, I've never run across a scam vehicle like this where somebody charged somebody that much money for this much crap. But it's pretty bad. So we had plans for this car. Oh look, another piece of Bondo. We had plans for this car, and the body work doesn't really matter for us, what we're going to do with it. So not too concerned about all of this. Basically what I'm going to probably do is cut this rust out and then just make myself a new panel here and weld it in. Somebody welded this lower part in at one time. At least they welded that in. I don't know if it's the same people or not. I'm going to doubt that it was. Just to the simple fact that somebody actually welded this in and then just glued this together. But I could be wrong. I mean, they did weld in these crappy little strips to try to, I don't know, do something. This car has been hit in the rear, and it was creased here, and all this was kind of creased and messed up. This was all messed up, this piece of pot metal here, and then the tail, the trunk lid has been pulled out a little bit, but again, I don't know if this was all crashed when they started doing this. I don't know what this is even supposed to be. Then they tried to make this seamless. I haven't cleaned that out yet. I don't know if it's half welded or probably just filled with Bondo and crap. But all in all, that's about the worst in the rear. There are dents down the side. You probably won't be able to see them, but there's a, looks like about like a hand punch right there. The roof's got some dents on it. There's a pretty good one right here. And then right here. We got to cut that sunroof, take that sunroof out and put a roof back in it, unfortunately. There's a dent here on the door, and then there's this odd dent right here. But the door is actually in good shape. I don't know why I had a 1/4 inch of Bondo, but it was actually, there's really not any, there's really not any dents or anything on the door, so I don't know what was going on. These fenders were gold, and they were off of a Javelin, and the Javelin emblem would have went right here. It's got some pretty good damage right here. That's actually been pulled out. But I think whoever worked on these fenders originally wasn't these guys, because it was just a skim of Bondo on the few places that had some bumps on it. And that Bondo was pretty tough to get off. So all the Bondo that was on this car from whoever did all that and painted the red on there, that stuff just fell off. It didn't take hardly any effort to get it off. This is in okay shape. I don't know if that got melted from the fire, but that's kind of like melted there. So I guess we'll find out what hidden surprises are on this side. Well, I can already tell you that it's all rusted out. And it's probably going to be much of the same. Just a bunch of Bondo and a bunch of crap piled on fiberglass and everything else. Which again, that's fine. Because what we're going to do with it, I don't know what that is. Guess I won't pull on that in case that is. That's all Bondo right there. So this side could be in worse shape. I don't know. You can actually see the Bondo bulge there, so that's gonna be fun. Same thing, I don't know if this door is pretty beat. Here's some of that Bondo from the guys that worked on the gold fenders. Like I said, super thin, and this one's coming off a little easier, but it was a little bit of a chore to get off that other fender. It actually looked like they used a sealer or something. So, but anyways, not a very long video, not a very detailed video. I was going to try to do more on it, but I'm just a busy guy. It's hard for me to get these videos even made right now. However, race season's just about over, and I can tell you this much: don't buy Master Pro water pumps. This is the second one that's blown out, and the second time it's cost me to have to forfeit racing. I was doing really well in the Gambler, and it blew out the back of the water pump, and that's a brand new water pump. So I don't know what to tell those Master Pro guys, but the second one, they're pieces of crap. Don't buy them. I have no idea why they fail, but they're junk. If they're new and they're blowing apart, they are junk. So I will be getting a different water pump for this, and we got one more race left with it. It's going to be really super loud because I put my bullet mufflers on it and try to gain a little bit more power. So, alright, well, anyways, we'll cut the video off here. And I don't know how many videos I'll make on this car, but I'm going to be on vacation here. In another week, I'll be on vacation for 2 weeks. During my vacation, my plan is to have all this stripped, cleaned, and then we'll start working on getting the new drivetrain in it, and getting some stuff done, and maybe try to get the roof done. And we'll be getting back on the AMX, like the Javelins. It's just the Javelin now, and I think he's going to get parked in storage, and we're going to just focus on this AMX and that AMX at the same time, and hopefully we can get something done this winter. Well, I appreciate everybody watching, and until the next video, we'll see you later.